Hare Ganga Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara.
Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. So this is a fun little bonus episode. I was asked a series of questions that I figured why not record them and give you the answers, because I'm always DM'd different questions and people are wanting to know, do you use crystals? Do you believe in past lives? This and that. And I wanted to just record my answer and dive into many different questions that you might have. So this is a fun little Q&A episode. You might learn something new about me. You might know this stuff, been listening to this podcast for years. So without further ado, let's introduce me for my Q&A. Hey! Q&A with Sahara Rose. Do you believe in the afterlife? I absolutely believe in an afterlife. I would actually call it more so past lives. And it's not one life that you then have an afterlife for, but rather it is a recurring merging between lifetimes that is actually never ending. It doesn't really have a definitive end and beginning, but rather we continue to come back to this physical realm to continue to learn different lessons that our souls needed to evolve. So I believe each lifetime has its own unique dharma, its own unique purpose, reason for incarnation. And to fulfill that dharma, to embody that dharma, you must overcome different obstacles. And those obstacles are your unique training to really get to that point that not only do you know your dharma, but you are living it. And I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. And we will continue to come back and down to this physical realm and learn different obstacles and go through different lessons until we have fully achieved moksha, which is liberation, which is going through all of it. And now we don't really have any karmic lessons that we need to know on earth, on this earth school. But many of us still choose to come back because, first of all, this earthly realm is amazing and beautiful. But second of all, because we want to assist others, we are volunteers that have come back to help assist with the awakening. So I, for myself, definitely believe that I am one, and I'm still learning lessons as well at the same time. So I don't see it as one lifetime with like a heaven or hell or a direct after. I see it as a sequential of lifetimes. I see in between lifetimes that we go to the Akashic realm and we sit with, our masters and angels and guides, and we go through the lessons that we've learned in that lifetime to see if we've really embodied it, and then we actually choose a soul plan to come back down with. So for example, your soul plan could be, in this lifetime, I really want to come back and learn unconditional love, or I want to learn how to be free from suffering, or I really want to learn what abundance means, or I really want to connect to the earth, etc. So you actually have a soul plan, and you have a soul clan of people that you actually are always coming back down with. So this is a group of, I don't want to label it of a specific number, but a number of people, different, guides will say different things, but a number of people that you reincarnate with every single lifetime and you play different roles with. So for example, in one lifetime, they could be your mother, one could be your father, one could be your brother, one could be your lover, one could be your best friend, one could be your boss, one could be your ex. And in the next lifetime, it switches around. Your ex is now your mom, and your lover is your brother, and it's all mixed around. So that's why we have these like unique relationships with different people. You may have felt, I feel like I'm my mother's mom, or I feel like my partner and I were brothers in a past life, or something like that. And that's actually because maybe you were in one of your past lives. And, I don't see it as also a number of past lives, because from the highest level, there is no such thing as time, but rather time is what we give to understand something that's so complex and always happening. So time is almost like labeling something that doesn't really exist. So from the highest level, those lives aren't even in your past. They're actually happening right now. But for our human mind to comprehend it, we think of it as past or future lives, though they're all simultaneously in the now. So that's my take on that. Number 2, have you ever had a psychic or spooky experience? Ooh. When I was a kid, I definitely would have a lot of more spooky experiences. I was born very, very connected to spirit. And when I was a kid, it would really haunt me sometimes because I would see ghosts all the time. I would see, my physical items merge into other things, and I would see things sort of shapeshift in front of me. I remember my family and I went to Iran, and I picked up this pencil box there. Oh, and this pencil box at night, it would just make the loudest sound. It was like screeching at night. Something about it was very, very haunted. I got it at a bazaar in Isfahan, Iran. And I would tell my mom, she's like, how could a pencil box be like screeching at night? I'm like, I need to get this out. And the moment I got that box out, it went away. So it was that pencil box screeching. So that was like a normal occurrence to me of just like seeing things that were alive and moving and just, really connected to the other realms. I'm sure if people have experienced with plant medicine, that was just like my reality. And I actually, unfortunately, went through a really, really dark time that when I was in 4th grade, I, very much identified with being a witch. I would practice witchcraft and spells, and I would go to Salem, Massachusetts, where the witch trials happen. I would buy spell books and, want to go to the exact woods where, the witch trials happened. And it was a huge, huge fascination of mine. And I actually chose to incarnate, in Boston area right by Salem, so I could go there all the time. And, the kids at school would call me a witch. They would call me evil. And one day I was walking by them, a group of them on the hill. I had these 3 other girls that we all identified as being a witch, but no one else in the grade liked us. And this boy who I actually knew from kindergarten, he said, "Burn the witch at the stake." And he pushed me down the hill, and he had a cast on, one of those casts on that you can walk with. So like metal cast. And he pushed me down the hill. He came down tumbling after me. His cast hit my head. I had a concussion. I rolled down the hill, and I woke up, and all the kids were just laughing at me of, yeah, get the witch, get the witch. And that really taught me that it's not safe for me to be a witch. It's not safe for me to be magical. I'll be burnt at the stake for it. So after that, they separated me and all of my friends. We weren't allowed to talk. We weren't allowed to even be in the same class. They did whatever they could to make us stop our magic. I mean, we would like see kids stuck in trees, like all sorts of things. They thought we were really, really crazy. And I stopped working with my magic after that and just wanted to fit in and be normal. And it wasn't until later in life through the path of yoga that I came back to it. So yes, many psychic and spooky experiences. And today I have claircognizance. So for me, my intuition comes from knowing. I just know things. I channel. So I don't really see anymore. I don't really so much see a being coming through. I don't hear them, but I know. I just have this deep sense of what's true. So, for example, when I was writing Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, I would just look out the window and my fingers would type. And I was typing specific things like the gunas and the subgunas, very specific Ayurvedic terminology that I hadn't deeply studied in this lifetime, but I had deeply studied in many, many lifetimes before that because, many lifetimes I was an Ayurvedic healer. So that was an example of claircognizance, of information that I've never learned in this lifetime coming through me. And I do channel a lot. Right now I can feel it coming on. And when I channel, I kind of almost lose my breath. It's kind of a little hard to breathe when that happens. So that's when I know that, spirit's coming through. And that happens a lot when I'm podcasting, especially on my solo cast when I'm just on a riff and I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth. I don't even know what questions are going to come next. And that's actually how I can channel. It's when I'm just in the state of pure being without any planning or knowing ahead, just letting my intuition guide me. And that's when my claircognizance really turns online. So 3, do you use crystals? Yes and no. So I have crystals for sure, and I think they're beautiful. I love citrine. That's my favorite one. I just love the color of it. That's honestly why I have rose quartzes. I have many, many different crystals that mostly I've just been gifted. And I do think they're really beautiful, but I try not to rely on any material possessions. I think it's really easy to fall down the rabbit hole of spiritual materialism, of needing more and more things and tools and things outside of you. The person that any decision they make in their life, they have to pull 50 cards or, see what their pendulum has to say or text their psychic or, all these things. And I am a crystal. We all are crystals. We are living crystals. So I try to tune more into my own body's energy and my own body's wisdom rather than relying on anything outside of me. But I do love and appreciate them as beautiful gems of earth. 4, are you a fan of alternative therapies? Oh, well, I mean, I am an Ayurvedic practitioner, so I would say most definitely. I've written books on it. And beyond Ayurveda, I am someone who will literally try anything from quantum hypnosis healing technique to, I did the Reiki certification, shamanic dance, anything alternative I love. I'm definitely, having gone down so many different doctors' orders who kept telling me to take more prescription medication, that I'll never be able to have children, I'll never be able to live a normal life. I learned early on that I can't trust what the mainstream medical, resources are telling us, because if I did, I wouldn't be here right now. So I've learned early in life to trust the alternative. And I don't even like to call it alternative because it's actually what has always been. It's actually the norm. They like to label it as alternative medicine to make it seem like we are on the outside, whereas ask anyone's grandma, this is the norm. So that's how I see it. Number 5, have you ever seen a psychic for a reading? Yeah, so when I was in high school, I kind of went through this psychic phase. A friend of mine went to a psychic and she raved about how accurate the psychic was and how she knew everything and how her and her mom were going. So of course I wanted to try. And at first I saw the psychic and I really liked the experience. Like she definitely, could kind of tap into something like, oh, you're seeing this guy or whatever. But then she told me I was going to marry him, which is just not true because I'm definitely not married to this person right now. But then I went back and first of all, I don't even think she remembered me because she told me something totally different. But she told me that I was going to get married early in life and then get a divorce by the time I'm 27 years old, which hasn't happened because I'm about to turn 30 and I didn't even marry that person. So at the time though, I was devastated. I came home and I was like, not sure if I should believe her or not. And I started crying like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to make this mistake and get a divorce. And I just didn't like how she made it very definitive of this is what's going to happen to you. And I know, and by the way, now you have to come back and continue to pay me money for XYZ spell for this curse to go away. And I was just like, you know what? This is like a business scheme. So I don't use psychics. I don't even really believe that there could be a psychic because our future is not defined. It is being created in every moment. And, there's free will as there is destiny, and it's a combination of both. And there's so many different timelines that we could take. So I don't think that one psychic could ever know. I do have friends who are intuitives or channels, which I see differently because they're more so reflecting back on how you currently feel rather than telling you how things are going to be. And I see that as, first of all, a lot healthier. Second of all, it makes more sense because no one knows the future, but sometimes people are disconnected with how they really feel, just like a therapist or a coach would reflect that back. An intuitive could, and also be kind of picking up on other things as well. So I definitely, have some friends who are intuitives, and sometimes I'm like, hey, what do you think about this thing? But I don't rely on anything outside of me to make the decisions in my life. Number 6, do you read your stars or are you typical for your star sign? Okay, so I had an interesting journey with astrology because I would read about a Capricorn, and I'm in Western astrology, which is what most, people are practicing in the Western world. I have 7 planets in Capricorn. So my sun, my moon, my Venus, my North Node, all sorts of planets are in Capricorn. So I had a really hard time and I didn't believe in astrology because I would read about a Capricorn and they're like super structured, disciplined, organized, like follows the rule, a bit reserved, doesn't like to have fun, quiet, like has an agenda for everything. I'm like, that is the polar opposite of me. So I was like, astrology is BS. It doesn't make sense. As I've gotten older and I've learned more and I've also developed in different ways, I could see how I relate to being a Capricorn in terms of the drive and the ambition. I definitely have that just desire to create and to make things and to, be in that union of channeling, whether it's writing or speaking or whatever it is. And I just have that really strong, drive inside of me. And that's how I connect to a Capricorn. Am I organized or do I have a set schedule or anything of that? No, not at all. I'm definitely not Miranda from Sex and the City. Polar opposite of me. I'm very spontaneous. I'm very just okay, I want to do something. I'm going to do it now. Travel, this, that. So then when I learned more about Vedic astrology when I was living in India in my early 20s, that totally hit home with me. And I was like, that makes sense because in Vedic astrology, I'm a Sagittarius moon, Sagittarius sun, and Scorpio rising, which to me makes a lot more sense and feels a lot more at home of like, I have such of that Sagittarius energy. And then also the understanding of the signs are a bit different in Vedic astrology. So in Scorpio, in Vedic astrology, a lot of spiritual teachers, mystics are Scorpio, and it's more of willing to go to the unknown, to the depths. Whereas I feel like in the Western interpretation has become kind of like sexual or goth, which is, I mean, could be me, but it's not exactly me. I am a witch, but I'm not like wearing black all the time. So I see myself more as the transformation side of the Scorpio, but definitely my heart and my soul have that Sagittarius energy to me. And I have the drive of the Capricorn as well. So I like to, look at both. Typically with my own, I like Vedic astrology, but there are some Western astrologers that I really practice and love their updates, and it's super spot on for me too. So I think that there is great insights of both. And I also really love human design and tap into that a lot. In human design, I'm a projector. My numbers are 4, 6. So 4 brings community together, which is so me. And then 6 is the role model. And I always have been, a role model for the people around me, always leading and always inspiring people. So the 4, 6 is also the humanitarian, which is, what I went to school for. And I worked with Amnesty International. So I definitely really resonate with my human design, splenic authority, gut instinct. Definitely have that. Number 7. Do you believe in soulmates? Ooh, yes. So I see soulmates as we have many, many different soulmates in our lives, and they're not just romantic. So you might have a friend who's a soulmate. Your grandmother might be your soulmate. It's someone that you just have this very, very deep, ancient connection to. So your soulmate doesn't have to be romantic. It could be completely platonic, but it's that soul level connection. Now, twin flames, I see twin flames as, you were almost like the same person merged into a feminine and masculine form. So that person is very much your mirror and can bring up a lot of triggers and shadow for you. However, that doesn't mean that that's necessarily the person that you're meant to romantically be with in this lifetime, because it could be very, very confronting. And oftentimes the best partnerships are when there's a bit of polarity there, not when you're the exact same person in feminine, masculine, bodies or poles, if you're in a same sex relationship. But I call this your soul flame. So this is a word my husband and I made up because we were like, we're not soulmates, we're not twin flames, we're soul flames. So it's that soulmate connection of its ancient, like the moment that me and my husband saw each other, we just stared into each other's eyes for 2 hours without stopping, just stared. And it was just like so much recognition of like, neener, recalibration, like where have you been all my life? And it was so deep, and there was never a conversation of like, are we going to be together or not? Are you going to see other people? It's just like, boom, we found each other, we're doing it. So that's like that soulmate relationship, but it's also has the fire to it, the romantic passion and love. So I don't see him as, me in a male body. There's very many different things that are different about us. He's in the music industry. He doesn't like to be on camera. He's very, behind the scenes kind of guy. And I'm definitely not. So we aren't the same person in different poles, but we ignite each other and we've come together to help each other live our dharmas. So this is what I see as soul flame, and something I'll definitely write about more. So do you believe in past lives? Yes, as I've mentioned, very much so. Do you use affirmations? Yes, I use affirmations when I'm having a difficult time to just affirm the thing that I'm calling in. So for a long time, my affirmation was, I receive the support I need to focus my energy on my dharma. That was like a year affirmation for me, because I was just, creating and launching Rose Gold Goddesses and writing my book and running my business and talking and like doing all of these things. And it was so crazy. And I just felt super alone and not supported. So my affirmation was, I receive the support I need so I can focus my energy on my dharma, not like the back end of my website. So now I have luckily grown and, created opportunities for team to be created. And then I switch my affirmation. It really just depends on whatever I need at this time. Right now with my book launch happening, it's May this book reach the people that it's meant to. May it be easy. May it take its own legs and guide itself to the homes of those who need to discover their dharmas. May it benefit those who it's meant to benefit. And really just letting the book have its own soul and its own entity. And I've really realized in the books I've written, it always does have that. Like, you can try to promote the book as much as you can and you want, but the book will speak for itself and it will find the people that it's meant to. So I always trust that. And I always trust that the people who are meant to find it will find it when they're meant to find it. And I can only hope to open as many opportunities for this wisdom, which comes through me, but not from me, to make its way to the people who are meant to feel it. So what is your take on the idea that there is something bigger than all of us, a higher energy? Yes, so I see this as Atman. Atman is universal source consciousness. It's what connects all of us. And I would see Atman as totality, as non-duality. It has no shape, it has no gender, it has no form, it has no label, it has no ego, it has no personification, it's spirit. And then I would see that as a Shiva consciousness, of a more masculine consciousness, of lifting up, not being in these earthly realms, but above them. It's much more ethereal. And then I would see the soul versus the spirit. The soul is more of the Shakti energy. It's more of the divine feminine. It's in the earth. It's in the soil. It's in our sweat. It's in our movement. It's in our love. It's in our orgasms. It's the feeling of it, being so immersed into being a human, being embodied, being here, being grounded, being connected. So we are all both in certain practices like dance, which I'm a huge advocate for, and, teach healing and embodiment through dance that cultivates the Shakti energy. And then other practices like meditation and breathwork, which I also facilitate and love, cultivate your Shiva consciousness. So, right now at this stage of my life, I'm really dedicated to bringing Shakti out there because I think so many of us think spirituality is just about leaving the body and like dropping out of everything and meditating in the Himalayas and having no desires and no thoughts and being totally neutral. And that is a part of it, and it's not all of it. And that Shakti hasn't really gotten her chance and hasn't really gotten her voice. And that is the way of the goddess. It's the left-hand path. It's the way of being so in the world and knowing that if you weren't meant to be human, you wouldn't have been born here. So the fact that you are a human, you're in this earth suit on this body at this time going through 2020 means that you're here for a reason. So instead of escaping from it, why don't we understand why we're here? So yes, there is a bigger energy than all of us, and we're meant to be here. Any rituals you swear by to improve your day? Yes, so I practice something called my goddess breathwork practice. So this is something I created because I really love breathwork. I started with Wim Hof and tried many different breathwork practices, but what I was finding was, first of all, when I would do holotropic breathwork, I didn't like how it put my body into a state of shock, how my hands would turn into the lobster claws, how it was just very stressful. It was like a very full-on experience. And I think that certain people really need that to break free from their shells. I know I brought my husband. That was so great for him. He was able to cry for the first time. But for me, it's just a little bit too intense. I like things that are more, again, of the feminine, sweet, that type of energy. So I created my goddess breathwork practice, combining belly dance, which is something that I do, of doing belly rolls, which are moving your belly in a wave-like undulation to actually move the Kundalini energy through your body and activate that sacral chakra, while at the same time doing a specific breathwork practice, holding it on the in and exhaling it out slowly. We do this 44 times, 3 rounds. And then on the final exhale, you start to circle and sway your body and just really connect to your juiciness and your divine feminine, which moves in circles. It's not linear. It's very free, and it's juicy, and it undulates and it swirls and it twirls. So using the breath to cultivate more of that feminine energy in your body. And that is, just takes me to such a better place for the rest of the day, and something that I really love to do. I also love to exercise and sweat. I kind of match it up to where I am in my menstrual cycle. So during follicular phase, more cardio-based, ovulation, more HIIT, weights, luteal, more just like weights, bar, menstruation, more like Pilates on the floor. But I love to sweat and move. I love to dance, particularly tribal fusion, belly dancing, and ecstatic dance, and twerking and hip hop as well. I was a hip hop dancer growing up. So any kind of movement pattern my body really loves to do. And the last question, are you a fan of yoga and meditation? Yes. So, yoga was really how my practice started. I began practicing when I was 12 years old and practiced a lot of vinyasa yoga, more of the movement focused. In New Delhi, where I was living, practiced something called artistic yoga, which was also very fluid, moving, and then I got very into Ashtanga. And then from Ashtanga, I ended up I'm already a very hypermobile person, so I ended up overexerting myself, and I actually hurt my wrist. To this day, I cannot put any pressure on my wrist. This is years later now because of, whatever I did to overextend it. And I think that in a way it was source telling me, because it was just very, very down this like yoga Ashtanga rabbit hole. And this was during the time that I actually wasn't getting my period. And I was, the rigidity of Ashtanga was putting me too far into my masculine. So I think that my wrist needed to happen for me to go back to the forms of dance, including belly dancing and just, being on my feet and letting my body guide me versus following a very specific sequence that, as we know, kind of the roots of Ashtanga yoga and many different types of yoga. They were created for prepubescent boys to help, suppress their hormones so they could sit and focus and actually enter into the military. So it's a very militaristic style of yoga, which many of us don't realize. We go to work all day and then we do our yoga practice. But then that work, you're sitting and you're in your masculine, you do your yoga, you're in your masculine, the meditation, you're in the masculine. So when are you going to do your ecstatic dance, your tantra, your belly breathing, all of these different practices that are in your feminine? Well, most of us, we don't even do that. So that's why we get so out of touch with our bodies, our intuition, our wisdom, all of the, sensual and flowing aspects of the feminine. So my purpose at this time is to cultivate more of that and then bring it back into balance with the Shiva consciousness. I hope you enjoyed that Q&A. And if you want to know more about what I think about discovering your dharma, your soul's purpose, then head over to IamSaharaRose.com/dharma to pre-order my new book, Discover Your Dharma, a Vedic Guide to Finding Your Purpose. This book is where I share my story, how I found my purpose, exactly how you can break it down into your dharma archetypes, your dharma blueprint, creating an action plan for you to go out there and live your dharma into this world. So it's not just about knowing what your purpose is, but it's actually about embodying it, because that's what the world needs right now. We need more spiritual, conscious people. Some say light workers. I call us sun beings, embodiments of the sun, out there living our soul's purpose. So if you believe in all the things that I do of past lives and crystals, well, guess what? You get to take that magic out into the world, whether it's through your coaching practice or through your business or through your dream career or through teaching your kids these things or creating a school or changing the medical industry. Whatever is calling you right now, it's time for you to step up, rise out, and shine the light that exists inside of you. So head over to the link in my show notes, IamSaharaRose.com/dharma. Submit your receipt to get my pre-order bonuses. And I'm so excited to see you on the virtual book launch event on January 5th, book launch day. So you'll get the tickets to that as soon as you submit your receipt. Thank you so much for listening to this Q&A. Namaste.